Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to tonight's episode of 49 Faithfully. We're your hosts, Miriah Lee and Teran Lewis. TL, what's up?
Nothing much. A nice Tuesday, hot as usual in Vegas. It was like 109, I think, this afternoon. Yeah, I mean, but it's been a busy week. Like I'm working overtime like 3 days this week. So, but hey, it's all about that money, so I'm good to
Yep,
go on that. So,
that's good. That's
yeah,
good. At least you have a job and some overtime to do.
yeah, yeah. That's very true.
um, Tanya, I appreciate you, sis, being the first one in the door.
Look at Tanya. She's so dedicated.
Yep,
Then
she's
you
the
got
best.
Dave. You got Dave on here. You got Joel. Uh,
Yep, Dave, Joel, appreciate you guys. Hope everybody's doing great today. Um, I hope this earlier, before we get started, that this earlier time, makes it easier for you guys. I know some people are still telling me that it's too late for them, but I mean, we're trying to move it up as early as possible. And we're still going to be bringing Saturday shows whenever possible as well for those that, it is too late for.
yeah,
But we're trying, fam. We know some
yeah,
of you are in the East Coast and it gets late over there and you guys got to work. We
yeah.
understand. You guys can always watch it in the morning though. It'll be there.
Yeah, and it's funny because we used to do a 7:30 show,
Yeah.
and now we're doing a 4:30. So we're trying, fam. I mean, I don't know how early you want us to do it. I don't know if you need a two o'clock show or what, but it's kind of hard for me because I work. But yeah, we try to give it to where everybody can watch. Like at a decent time. I know 10:30 on the East Coast is pretty late, so I get it. So me and Mariah were like, well, let's change it up again. So I feel like if we did that 4:30 our time, it's only 7:30 in on the East Coast. So hopefully everything is good to go. So
Yep. Media, Johnny James, mm, David McNew, both Davids in the house. We appreciate you guys. Number 10 update from Rap Sheet. Uh-oh. Just now? Let's see. Got some
I
Jimmy
hope
news here.
I hope it wasn't that thing he was talking about him. Oh, I think he said he'll be ready like mid-August or something like that. Maybe that's what he's
Is
talking
on
about.
schedule and should be fully good to go around mid-August. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I saw too.
Well, so let's start off with that. Do you think that means we're not getting rid of him till mid-August, or do you think now that teams, obviously that's Jimmy's camp, right? Putting it out there that that's, his timetable. Do you think they're putting that out there so teams know, okay, yeah, he's on track. This one he'll be ready and we can go after him, or the 49ers can release him? Like, does that mean he can't pass a physical till then?
Yeah.
Or when does the physical passing come into play here?
Well, it's kind of funny because didn't his camp last week said that he was ready throwing the football?
Yep.
So he's already throwing the football, yet they put out a later date, almost a month from now, saying he'll be good to go mid-August. I think his camp is trying to get the Niners to release him. They're putting
And
out a
that
later date because that's crunch time. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what it'll be like week two of preseason or so.
right.
So it's like, and then if he's still not throwing, then they're gonna try to have to crunch and wait to be like, oh man, can we get a trade partner for him? So it's gonna give you like 2 weeks to find a trade partner, which is gonna be hard to do unless I hope not, but unless there's an injury on some team.
Yeah.
I never hope that for anybody. I don't care who it is. As much as I hate Cowboys, Seahawks, I don't never want to
Right.
wish an injury. So I feel like it's his camp putting it on the Niners, like, hey, he won't be ready till mid-August. So if he, I don't know. I think they're playing games. I think they're putting it out because they want him gone. They want him to be released because at least if he released, he can kind of pick his destination. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. But Dave, I feel you on the physical, but if he doesn't pass it, and I get it. I mean, it's easy for us to say because we're like, just get rid of him and before the physical and get that $7.5 million to pay him. But that's still a lot of money,
Yeah.
paying this man $7.5 million. I know if I'm Jed, I'm like, hey, let's get rid of him because I'm a billionaire. But at the same time, it's a business. So I don't know. I think it's his camp to end it. I think it's his camp putting a later date out there so the Niners could just go ahead and cut him so he can pick where he wants to go.
Yeah, remember when that Joe Schmo from Tampa Bay, whatever, the
Oh
last
yeah,
week or whatever, had said, oh, from his reports, that Jimmy wasn't going to be ready till week 3 or week 4. So maybe
Hmm.
this is now Jimmy's camp because remember Don D came out, the next day or whatever and shot down reports of that or that he
Hmm.
spoke to him or whatever it was. So maybe this is, Jimmy's camp, way of saying, that's not true. He's going to be ready by so and so date. Who knows? It's like
Yeah.
just like I agree. I'm with David 100%. Just get rid of his ass already.
Yeah. I mean, if like I said, if it was my money, absolutely. Like if I'm, if it was up to me, I'm like, look, I mean, let me go ahead and drop him so I can have some extra money, to play with or whatever the case may be. However, let me ask you this, and let me ask this to the people in the chat. Is there any percentage, any, that he's on this roster week one?
Whew, you're trying to get me to drop F bombs before we're even 15 minutes into the show.
Yeah, I am.
Ryan, Kali, appreciate you guys.
I am.
Um, I'm saying, I mean, we can't ever say with absolutes, of course.
Of
I'm
course.
going to say 1% chance he's on this team
1%
weekly.
chance. I'm gonna say 0% from Woke Niner. Okay, I like that. I hate to say this, fam. Everybody who knows me knows I want this dude gone. And I'm just scared of the arrogance of this organization.
Which
That's
we know
all
is there.
which I know is there. That's all I'm scared about because they want to be right. They want to sit back at the end of the day and say, I found a decent trade partner for Jimmy Garoppolo. So what scares me is because we've already signed all of our people in free agency, like I feel like we have our team intact. I wouldn't be surprised if he's on this roster week one, and I'm gonna give it 30%. Still low, still not 50. However, which is to me, which be a stupid mistake because if he doesn't start, you get nothing for him.
Yeah.
You get nothing for him because now you only get compensatory picks for starters. So if he's on the, I'm sorry, no border. I'm sorry. I'm keeping it a buck here, man. I get it. I'm not speaking nothing to existence. I'm not God. I have no power in my tongue. So I'm going to sit here and say 30% only because of the arrogance of this organization. Because they're going to look at it as like, well, we have our corner, we have our team intact, blah blah blah, which him on the roster week one is shameful because of the simple fact of the salary he's getting, and
Mm-hmm.
he's guaranteed. However, you know, I don't know. I'm just gonna say 30% just because, like I said, I don't know what Kyle and John are thinking. Because now, if it comes to a point, because his camp can sit there and extend him anytime they want. They can say, "Oh, well, they can say, well, they're saying now mid-August. What if they say end of August now? How can we sit there and be like, well, he needs to hurry up and pass the fifth? Let me say, and his camp's like, no, he's not ready. He's still hurt. Like what? So it could be a game of chess of like, well, if he wants to, if you don't want to cut him, fine. We'll extend the time he can throw, extend the time he can work out for a team and pass a physical, whatever the case may be. And then them say, oh, he's on the team week one. Now I'm gonna get $25 million on the bench, kick my feet up, and I'm getting paid for 2022 and don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So, and I'm with Dave. I'm with you. I'm with No Border. Get rid of him. However, do not sit back and think that this organization is not looking at it as like a money thing. And I don't know. I just don't get it because I feel like I'd rather pay 7.5 million to somebody who's gone than $25 million to somebody sitting on my bench.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's what I have to say.
I mean, I feel like if there's no behind the scenes, talks of a trade partner already, like
Hmm.
there hasn't been any talks, all talks have dried up, there's no interest. I feel like obviously Jimmy and his camp, they're going to want to have the 49ers cut him because
Exactly.
that's the best that's for Jimmy at that point. However, if there is some kind of talks or in the works with the Seahawks or whoever the hell, if the 49ers are crazy enough, like even though we can sit here and say we don't care if he's on the Seahawks, like that rarely happens that a team is going to trade somebody in the conference, especially, I mean, in the division, especially a quarterback. Like that's just basically unheard of. So, I feel like the only way the Seahawks probably get him is if he's cut.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but if there's some kind of trade talks or there's somebody, whoever, that has some eye on him and they're aware, then obviously Jimmy's going to want to be traded because he's making way more money than if he gets cut and then he's going to have to, sign some new deal with a team that maybe they wants to pay him 6, 7 million, whatever, 3 million as a backup. He ain't going to be making no 27 million. That's for damn sure.
No.
So I think it all depends. Like, what are the talks behind the scenes?
Yeah.
That's obviously what Jimmy's camp's going to be pushing. So
Yeah.
I think as we get closer, we're going to start seeing, the Jimmy camp voices out there, which way is pushing the narrative, so I
Yeah.
don't know, it's going to get interesting.
Yeah. I'm just, it's just it's one of those things where like, yeah, I get everybody. I'm with everybody. I'm not trying to speak it into existence. I'm just saying I just know this organization. I just nothing surprises me when it comes to John and Kyle and their decision making, because I've already felt like I feel like Don Yee already finessed them by having Jimmy take that surgery,
Yeah.
what, the week of the combine. You know what I'm saying? So you already got finessed there. They thought they had this in mind in 2021, that let's run it back. Didn't work out. Jimmy gets hurt anyway. And now we're heading into almost August, and this dude is still on our team holding a $25 million salary, and we don't know what's going on with him. So that's why I say, like, Donnie could be one of those people who are just like, hey, we're gonna play chess with these dudes. We're gonna push it back, because from last week they're saying he's already throwing a football. Well, if he's throwing a football last week, why isn't he gonna be ready till mid-August? That doesn't make any sense. If he can throw now, so
Yeah.
what is that? Is that when he can pass a physical? Because that doesn't make any sense. So I feel like Don E's playing a game with us. He's like, hey, and I'm sure he's talking to Jimmy, and Jimmy's probably telling him like, look, I want to pick my destination. I want to go where's the best fit for me. There's probably no trade talks behind the scene, because as we mentioned before, I don't think nobody's going to trade for him unless there's a contract extension.
Yeah.
For you to give up draft capital, and he's not, and it's not like he's a top tier quarterback that you can be like, oh, we'll keep, and then we're gonna put a franchise tag on him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, what team, if a GM trades Jimmy for a third without an extension, and then he walks, and you pay this dude $25 million, and he's not even guaranteed to start, you should be fired.
Yeah.
So I just
That's
don't see a
crazy.
trade partner unless he's extended. I feel I'm with everybody else. I think he gets released before week 1. However, I just don't know what's going to happen because of the arrogance. Because, like we mentioned, if he stays and he's on the bench behind Trey, then ultimately we lose everything for him, because now we get no compensatory pick for him, because now he didn't start, and then he's a free agent, unrestricted free agent. He can go wherever he wants, and no draft capital for him. So
Yeah.
it's just a mess.
Yeah. I agree with media. If he's on the roster week 1, the 49ers just botched the situation even more.
Almost
Like,
deaf.
every time we think, like, okay, they can't like screw this situation up, even more than they already have, they do somehow.
Yeah.
It's like last year we're all pushing, okay, we got Trey, let's cut Jimmy. Whatever, get the growing pains, let Trey start. No. So they had already screwed up the situation by keeping Jimmy on the team all last season. And then, it's like, okay, start of the offseason, we think, okay, he's going to get cut. He's going to get traded. I mean, and no, we see all these other quarterbacks get moved. We hear, oh, we had a second on the table, all this bullshit,
Yeah.
and it's like every single month, I feel like, another thing comes crashing down. Like, oh, well, the 49ers just screwed this up even more. Now,
Yep.
more time's going by that he's sitting on this roster and probably going to get freaking paid, for doing nothing. It's
Yeah.
like,
And
so
yeah,
ridiculous.
before we move on, I would say before 2021, I think you were a part of this side of the fan base who thought because we got trade that we would find a trade partner for Jimmy. Like, I remember
Yep.
you saying all last year, like, I still feel Trey Lance is going to be the week 1 starter. So I felt like it was 50-50 on the fan base. Some people were like, no, we're going to keep Jimmy for a year. I was on the side of let's trade him. Obviously, it didn't happen. So I feel like that was 50-50. Everybody, I feel like, and I won't say everybody, I say like 80% of the fan base thought before the combine and before the draft, he'd be gone.
Yeah.
So every time and time is just ticking away and ticking away and ticking away. And yet we're heading into training camp. The dude's still on our team. That's why I put the 30% percentage out there, because I don't know what's going on with this dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the fact that he's on this team July 19th, and shout out to my daughter Sanaya. Today's her birthday. She turned 12
Oh, happy
today.
birthday.
Yeah, she with her mom today. But yeah, so you know, looking at it, July 19th, 2022, he's still on this team. And I don't think anybody would ever have thought that when the season ended, after he said his goodbye and all this
Yeah.
other stuff. Everybody felt before that, at least the draft, I don't know about the combine, but at least before the draft, he'd get traded either before the draft or during. You know what I'm saying? It didn't happen. So that's why, and I know you hate that, Miriah, and I don't, if you want to drop some F-bombs, I'm ready for it. But I'm just saying, don't be shocked that Don Yee is playing these games and pushing back. Oh, he won't be ready now till August 15th. Now till mid-August. So they're pushing it back for crunch time to make the Niners make a quick decision of like, hey, what are you gonna do with this dude? Because the closer it gets to week 1, we have to make a decision. Because, like everybody is saying on this chat, if he's on this roster week 1 and there's no trade partner for him, and we have to pay this man, now his money becomes guaranteed. Then we got to pay this man $25 million to sit on the bench. You have been bamboozled. You have been finessed. Every word you can think of for this dude to be on his team. And if I'm him, I'm not even mad. Oh, you want to
Yeah.
pay me $25 million to hold a clipboard? So be it. So he's getting his money either way. And then when 2023 hits, you get nothing for him because he didn't start. So that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Real quick
Niner
on
by nature, real quick. It's Sanaya, like Tanaya, but with the Senaya. Sorry. But I appreciate you though, brother. I think it
um
probably sounded like Sonia when I said it, but yeah.
49er minded Bash, what's up?
Izzy.
Mike Ing from Woke Niner Recaps. Niner by Nature. Where are we at? Where we are? Rohan. And I told him I'm gonna say his name like Shoddy now.
I'm gonna say
Like
Shach.
Shorty.
I think it's Shachi. Shachi. Let me ask you something. Kind of read my
Tommy,
mind.
Joey.
Yeah. Let me
I'm
ask you
making
something,
my way
Mariah,
through.
and the chat.
Nissa.
Yeah. Tommy Huxley. Yep. A bunch of
Yeah.
people. Appreciate,
Robert, Tia. Appreciate you all for showing up.
I appreciate everybody for telling my daughter happy birthday as well.
Yes, yes.
So let me ask you this, and I don't have no knowledge of this, and maybe you do, Mariah, or maybe inside in the chat can help. Um, since 49ers are under contract, since they have had Jimmy G under contract, can they dictate when he can have a search? I mean, have a physical? Like, can they say, "Hey, I own his rights. I want him to take a physical. I want our doctors to take a look at him now and see if he can pass a physical if he's 100% healthy," or because he had a surgery, now it's on his agent to be like, "Nah, I'm the one who says when he's ready. Like, I'm having our team look at it. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. I don't
Does
know.
does
That's why I'm
anybody know?
wondering, like, if he was already throwing 2 weeks ago, but
Yeah,
he's going to be officially ready by this date. It's like, so is he ready to take a physical by that date, or he can
yeah,
pass a physical now and he's ready to actually be in game shape by that date?
yeah."
Like, like how that's what I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
so I don't. Yeah, so I don't get it. Like if I'm like John and Kyle and Adam Peters and all them, I'm like, no, I don't care what you say. I'm having my daughter. I'm having my daughter. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat. I'm having my doctors take a look at Jimmy and say, no, you need to look at him. Forget what his camp is saying. You take a look at him and you tell me what you think. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So I don't know. It's just a mess. I hate that we're talking here. We're sitting here, in almost August, and we're talking about this dude still being on our team. It's just it's mind blowing.
I know. I'm so sick of it. So let's change the subject to our new quarterback and Brandon Ayuk. Up until last week, we had been talking every single episode. I feel like about how we're like sick of the players not coming to Trey Lance's defense. Like we saw all the players rush to Kinlaw's defense and the whole Grant situation, and it's like every day there's a new Trey Lance topic. I feel like, where they're talking shit about Trey Lance for something. And yet the team had been, hush hush. And we finally seen Brandon Ayuk break that. A video was released with Trey Lance throwing, and I think he made like 3 throws or whatever. And then Trey Lance had released I think on IG or somewhere, had put the only 3 throws from the day, his arm got fatigued after that.
Hmm.
So, making fun of, all this arm fatigue BS that we've heard up until this point. So I just want to say shout out to him for finally sticking up for his guy. We have seen, that the relationship between, Ayuk and Trey Lance up to this point seems to be growing and growing. Um, and a little bit on that too. Did you see the video where Trey Lance calls Ayuk his little milk dud?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, where like uh Ayuk's like laying there on the couch and he's wearing like a brown shirt and brown shorts or whatever, but it like perfectly matches his skin tone.
yeah. I saw
And so
that.
he like, like little milk dud, completely all brown around. Like that's so cute. Like that just shows right there, like that they have such a great relationship.
Yeah,
And like it seems like every week now, like videos are coming out of them either, chilling at the house or, you know, on the field doing whatever together, like they've been together all off season. So like I continue like to be impressed like with that whole bonding. And Trey
yeah,
Lance, just because up in like we haven't seen that from Jimmy, like we always hear how Jimmy disappears through the off season, right? And to see actually our quarterback like doing something like we don't like have him like he don't have like us all ghosted and his team ghosted for all these months
six
out of the
months
year.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
like we actually can kind of keep tabs like what our quarterback's like doing. And
yeah,
like he's probably not living a secret murderer life or living in the closet or something.
yeah.
So yeah, I love that he finally um
That yeah.
finally
Somebody
came forward
stepped
and
up.
said something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to go off of what Johnny said, that's hilarious. He said that Ayuk looked like a naked Tootsie Roll.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But yeah,
Hey
I'm gonna
Denise.
yeah. Hey Denise. Hey yeah. Robert Tuncap. How are you? Um, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say finally. It's about time
Yeah.
somebody says something. Um, what I will say is, it's progress. I'm glad that somebody and I'm not shocked at who it was because it's like Ayuk and him are just been getting so close. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, props to Ayuk. He's better than I am because I wouldn't have been so nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, we've been sitting here talking for weeks or even months about how like the team doesn't come to Trey Lance's defense. Everybody seems to be on a hush hush. Like Ludacris said, let's keep it on the hush. Don't say nothing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, well, I'm not gonna, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to rock the boat. But like we said, when it came to Kinlaw, everybody and their mom wanted to jump in. You know what I mean? So I just hope going forward we see everybody coming to his defense and making these comments, or maybe it's who knows, it could be Trace sitting back saying, don't worry about it, don't say nothing. Even if he did, I'd say something anyway, because like I mentioned before, I'm calling out all these dudes.
Yeah.
Emmanuel Ocho, Colin Cowherd, like, are you that hurt he broke up with your daughter, man? Like, come on. So
He
yeah,
is.
I'm just sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, so yeah. So I'm gonna give props to IU. Kudos to you, man. I'm glad to see somebody finally came to his defense. He's probably one of the youngest guys, probably still on your team, even though he's going into his second year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just hope going forward I see more of it when somebody tries to come sideways at Trey. So
Yep. Tanya says she's cooking dinner and watching us. Last week, when she was cooking dinner and watching us, she almost cut off her hand. And then I'm going to be blamed for her being handless. So you better
did
not
she
be cut
really?
out. Yeah, she almost cut her finger off.
You better be careful there,
Then she
Tanya.
tries to blame me. So I don't want to be getting blamed. So, like, keep your hands on today, okay? Don't be cutting off no fingers. So yeah, let's get into some tight end rankings that have been floating around, and then we will hop into the tight end room straight from there. There's been two different sets of rankings. We love to go over these rankings on these shows because these people are so full of shit around here. So one is tight end fantasy PPR ranks, and then another is just top tight ends for 2022 from ESPN. It's from the NFL execs, coaches and player bank, whatever the hell that means. Top tight ends for 2022. And so they have George Kittle as number one, Travis Kelce number two, Darren Waller three, Mark Andrews four, and Kyle Pitts five.
And this is for fantasy?
Nope, that's just top tight ends.
Top tight ends just in general. Okay.
Yeah, for 2022. Like who's going to be the top tight ends in 2022.
Okay.
And then the fantasy ones have Mark Andrews number 1, Travis Kelce number 2, George Kittle number 3, Kyle Pitts 4, Darren Waller 5, and down the list from there. So, I mean, I can see that the fantasy one, with Mark Andrews, because I mean, that's Lamar's favorite target. They have nobody else to
Exactly.
throw to on the team, so he has to throw the ball to somebody. And then we know Travis Kelce, he gets, the workload to be a top tight end in fantasy. And we know George Kittle has spent so much time blocking that kind of, puts hurting on his fantasy value. So there's that. I'm actually kind of surprised that they put George Kittle on the other list as the top tight end for 2022, considering with as much hate as Trey Lance gets, you would think that, if he's going to be so horrible and he can't throw the ball and he's not accurate and all this shit, right, that he can't get the ball to Kittle. So for him now, all of a sudden, he's going to be the top tight ends, meaning his production is going to be higher than Travis Kelce, who has Mahomes throwing him the ball. That kind of contradicts what they say. Like, how can Kittle be number 1, but you have Trey Lance at number 32, whatever the hell. It's like, that doesn't make sense. Somebody has to be getting Kittle the ball. So that was interesting to me. I agreed, hopefully that we don't have to see Kittle blocking all season. We've talked about this over and over. And Trey Lance, can lean on Kittle because that'll be huge for him. And we've seen Kittle be the best tight end in football, right? So, I mean, that's not a stretch there. I just think it's kind of funny that they talk shit about the quarterback, but think, George Kittle's going to do so great. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the list?
Well, I'm gonna take it a different direction than you. I think from what they're saying is Kittle being the number 1 tight end or whatever the case may be is because, and I know Trey Lance gets all this slander and stuff, but I think when you look at a young QB, for the most part, a lot of them prefer to throw to their tight end because it's like a safety blanket. So I think they're looking at it as like, well, George Kittle, he is a beast, in the open field, stuff like that. And, and I think for, we look at, I understand you said Lamar Jackson and stuff, but I think you look at like these younger guys that usually come in, like Mac Jones and all these other guys, like they're just like, you know what, man, like I'm going to drop it off to the nearest receiver I see. You know what I mean? So I think they're looking at it as like, maybe like, okay, well, here's a young QB. I don't know if he can throw down the field accurately, whatever the case may be. And George Kittle is a top, 2 to 3 tight end, whatever you want to say. Some people have number 1, number 2, whatever the case may be. You can't really argue it. But I think that's why they have Kittle ranked higher. But I get what you're saying because it doesn't make sense who has on the ball. But most young QBs use especially a great tight end, as a safety blanket. So I think that's why they have him the way it is. As far as what you were saying about fantasy, I get it because, like you said, Rashad Bateman's like their best receiver on the Ravens. He's coming into his 2nd year, but honestly, who's their number 2 receiver? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know who their number 2 receiver is at the moment. So, because they got Hollywood Brown. So, you got him, and Lamar Jackson loves him some Mark Andrews. Yep. Loves Mark Andrews. He throws to him all the time because that's his best weapon. So, I remember that game last year when they made that comeback when they were down 3 touchdowns. Like, he was his bread and butter. Like, I think he scored 2 out of the 3 touchdowns. So, yeah. So I have no problems with that. I think Kyle, where Kittle was ranked is pretty accurate, stuff like that. So I have no issues of where they have him on either list. So,
all right. Let's get started with the breakdowns because we have 3 position groups to go through. We're going to do running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. But since we're talking about tight ends, we'll start with the tight ends.
Cool.
And before you get started,
okay,
there goes Mike leading the charge. Go ahead and drop your numbers. We'll get started with the giveaway.
He already knew.
Or a Ransom giveaway from the card box. So go ahead and drop your numbers. I'll give you guys a couple minutes, 1 through 100 for those that are new. We do a random number giveaway. So you'll need to drop a number into the chat, 1 through 100. make sure that there's no duplicates, so don't drop a number that somebody's already dropped before you. And then I'll do a random number generator to pick a winner, and then we will pick you a random prize. Good luck, everybody. All right, tight ends. Looks like we kept 3 on the team last year, 4 the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, go ahead.
All right. So as of now, we have 6 tight ends on the roster going into training camp, and I can name them real quick. We have Ross Duelli, Troy Fumagalli, I guess how you say his name,
Mhm.
Tanner Hudson, George Kittle, Tyler Croft, and Charlie Warner. We have those 6 going into the training camp. So looking at it, obviously, like Mariah said, we kept 3
And
last year.
and Jordan Matthews.
Oh, and Jordan Matthews, yes, tight end slash wide receiver. Yeah, that guy who gets an invite to every training camp. So, yeah, so we have Jordan Matthews with the tight end slash wide receiver. So, um, just to start it off, obviously, like Mariah said, we have 6, but we're only keeping 3, and so the 3 I'm keeping is kind of similar to last year, but there's one change. I'm gonna go with George Kittle as our number 1 tight end. Obviously, I'm gonna have a surprise here because he played with Tom Brady. He played under Gronk, and he was on a roster. He was on the NFL roster with Tampa Bay for 3 years. I'm going with Tanner Hudson. He's pretty versatile. He can catch and he can block. Something we've been looking for. Somebody who can back up. I know we got Charlie Warner. He's great as a blocker, but hasn't shown much as a wide receiver. I mean, as a receiving threat. Then you have Duelli, who's the opposite, shows a
Yeah.
lot as a receiving threat, but can't block. I feel like Tanner Hudson has more of a mixture of both. He can block and catch. Like I said, he was on Tampa Bay since 2018, so he has NFL experience, and he's ever since he came into the league, he's been on a roster, hasn't bounced around. So I think he gives us that stability as a number 2 tight end. And then for number 3, I'm still going to keep Ross Duelli just because his familiarity with the system. He's familiar with Trey. Him being on the second team. Stuff like that. So I have those 3 making it as our tight ends: George Kittle, Tanner Hudson, and Ross Duelli. I have Tyler Croft. And Troy Fumagalli cut. Then I have Charlie Warner going to our practice squad.
All right. Um, yeah, I switched mine up from last season as well. I have Ross Dwelly getting traded, and for me, we talked about, and you kind of touched on it as well. It just doesn't seem, always we hear and we see when he fills in for Juice and when he's filled in for Kittle, like, and he's used, he does great. And then all of a sudden, when he's not needing to fill in for somebody, we lose sight of him. Like, we don't ever see Dwelly. And to me, I feel like that since he's not a good blocker, that he just stays in Shanahan's doghouse. It's like he can catch. I constantly hear he has the best hands on the team, but for some reason, he's not getting used in the passing game. So to me, I just feel like, that's just wasting a spot. If you can't block, it's harder for you to play on this team. We know we're a run first team, and I just feel like we can get somebody better in there. So I feel if we can get something for him, trade him, send him to the Dolphins, wherever, the Jets, whoever needs him that's familiar with him and can put his skills to use, because Kyle obviously can't do it. So I'm going to have him getting traded. I have us keeping George Kittle, of course. I'm going to go with us keeping Troy Fumagalli and Charlie Warner as our 3 tight ends. And I just feel that Troy, like I feel like he's a perfect fit for what Kyle does. So, yeah. And Charlie, we see that, he obviously can block. We know that. And we see him get chances in the passing game every so randomly. It's like, who's that ball going to? Oh shit. Like, they threw that to Charlie. Like, and he's not great in that regard, but like, he's serviceable and he can block. So I feel like if we can get Charlie blocking like up to maybe 80% of George Kittle, 75% of George Kittle, maybe we don't have to have George Kittle blocking so much. So I'm definitely not going to get rid of the tight ends that actually can block well, because I don't want George Kittle blocking. So we need to have somebody filled in there blocking. And Fumagalli can block. So, yep, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, no, it's good. You know what's funny about Charlie Warner? A lot of people don't know this. He's from the state of Georgia. This man in high school was a four-star wide receiver.
Yeah,
If you go look at his clips on YouTube, dude was a beast, but I think they changed him to tight end because although he had good receiving skills in high school, he was a little bit on the slow side. So they were like, you know what they do? Oh, you're slow, but you're kind of big because he was still like 6'3", 6'4" in high school. He was just smaller. He was only like 200 pounds, 220, 210. So they made him gain some weight and become a tight end, which is crazy to me because at Georgia, they still had him as a blocking tight end, which
yep,
was crazy. I'm like, this dude has all these wide receiver skills. You make him gain weight just so you can block because Georgia likes to run the football. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where, if you can get a chance, go look it up. Go look up Charlie Warner high school highlights. Dude was a monster at
yep,
wide receiver in high school. So it's just funny to see how, how his career has changed into just like a blocking guy, and I don't think receiving skills is something you lose. I think you have it in, especially being a professional. I don't think it'd be an issue for him to go back to it. But it's just crazy how he goes from a 210 high school wide receiver and that's not uncommon. It happens a
right.
lot.
Mm-hmm.
To go from a 210 wide receiver to a 255-pound tight end, but usually you still get to keep your wide receiver skills. I feel
Yeah.
like if he would have went to any other school, like an Iowa, for instance, where a bunch of tight ends come out and kill like a Kittle and a Noah Fant and Hawkinson and all these other guys, they'll be used more as receivers, I think, or
Well, I
maybe
mean,
just
Kittle wasn't even used in the
well, Kittle
passing
wasn't
game
even
in
used in the pass.
college.
Yeah, he was used as a blocker too. Yeah, but if you go to another school, like if he would have went to like a pass heavy team, he probably would have been, more, people would have been more on him as far as knowing who he was. But yeah, I'm with you on that. Charlie Warner was the one I kind of went back and forth on. I almost kept him third, and Dwelly being like, being cut and being somebody swooping him up. But I just think they keep Dwelly just because the longevity he has. Like he's never hurt. He's reliable whenever he gets in. I know he doesn't block well, but I think when you and I talked before, we started the show, Dwelly, even though he's not like, doesn't get a lot of playing time, I feel like every time he's in, he makes a play or he scores a touchdown.
Yep.
Like he'll get us that first down when needed. He scores touchdowns and stuff like that. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know we've talked about this at nauseum. We're hoping that tight end, George Kittle can actually be a receiving threat. And if that's the case, then maybe you're right. Maybe somebody like Dwelly gets cut, and then we keep like mainly the tight ends who can block. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just because our offensive line is kind of up in the air. So yeah, good list. I don't think we can go wrong either way. As far as Dwelly being overrated, I mean, who knows? Like Miriah said, he doesn't get used for a reason. And maybe his blocking is that poor that they're just like, dude, you're a liability when you get in there. So maybe that's why he hardly gets any snaps. Like you would think, at least in the red zone, he'd be used more
Yeah.
because
And
he's
like
six
you're
five.
learning behind the best blocking
Yeah.
tight end in the league, and you
Yeah.
haven't learned how to block even a little bit.
Like what? This is going to his fourth year on this team. So it's like he's been here for a few years now,
Yeah.
but I mean, he always seems to manage to stay on this team no matter who we bring in. We bring in free agents, you know, we bring in guys, but yet he seems to beat them out. So he's doing something right. But
I
yeah,
feel like we
I
haven't
feel
brought
you.
in great tight ends to beat
No,
him
no,
out.
we haven't. No, we haven't been in great tight end. I mean, but they're a blocking tight end, so he adds that different element of his receiving ability. So maybe that's why he stays. But you would think, just like you said, Miriah, like why isn't he used more? There might be a reason for it. But yeah, I would think being a 6'5", 245-pound guy, you would at least help in the red zone. But he doesn't even get used there. So yeah.
Bash, I have actually Jordan Matthews obviously staying on the practice squad. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. Like he stayed on the practice squad all last season. I think the season before that, like I think that's just where he's at in his career. Like
Yeah.
so I definitely think he'll be there on the team on the practice squad. I don't think he's going far.
He's the Dante Johnson on offense, except he doesn't get playing time.
Yeah, and then
Like he,
Collie
yeah,
had said Tyler Croft, anyone, and it was actually hard. Those are the two I was going between, were Tyler Croft and Troy, like going back and forth. And I actually think Tyler Croft has a good chance of making the team, but obviously, we can't pick everybody to make the team. So
yes,
again, I'll say it. That's why I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make the decisions.
yeah. And then
But yeah,
Tyler,
I do
yeah,
think he could actually make the team.
he could too. Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if it's him instead of Tanner Hudson.
Yep.
I just picked Tanner Hudson just because, like I said, he comes from a good organization. He's a Super Bowl champion. Even though he didn't start because they had Gronk and OJ Howard and stuff, but he was on that team for a reason. Like I said, he was a mainstay from 2018 till last year, and then we picked him up in free agency. So he has a shot. Like I said, he does a little bit of both. He's not great at both, but he does both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I think he has a little bit of an edge, but we'll see. Like I said, I think the only one who's basically only one's guaranteed is Kittle. Everybody, all the other five are kind of up in the air. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out.
Yep. Um, let's go ahead and draw this real quick. Everybody got your
Okay.
numbers in? Because I'm picking. We're going. Give you guys a few more seconds just in case. And then we'll go ahead and draw a number, and then we'll go on to whoever you want to go to next. Running
Um,
backs, wide receivers, I
and
don't care.
we can go to running backs next.
All right. All right, let's spin it. 39. All right, I'll look while you can go ahead and start. You're muted, I think.
Can we start on the running backs? Can you hear
Okay.
me now? Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's go on these running backs here.
And
Um,
the team kept 5 running backs last season,
yeah,
including Juice.
Pudding Juice and Melissa knows Ross Dooley and Kyle Juszczyk do not to be packaged to send to the AFC East. Stop it. Don't put that evil on my boy Kyle Juszczyk like that. So as of now, we have 7 running backs on this team, including I'm sorry, let me take that back. We have actually 8 if you want to include Josh Hokett. So we have 8 on the team right now. We kept 5. So this one here is actually kind of hard, to be honest, because I don't know what's going on with these running backs and stuff like this. So I'm going to keep 4 running backs and then 1 fullback who we'll just get this out the way. Kyle Juszczyk is going to be the fullback on this
Hold on
team.
real quick. David, your number came in on
After,
my screen at least after I had already called out the number, so
same
I
here.
can't I
Same
can't
here.
include that on this one.
Yeah.
So it looks like to me that it was Melissa was
See.
the closest. She had 25, but
Let me take a look too,
or
just in case, and
maybe
then I'll get back to it. Let me see.
no,
What was the
maybe
number again?
39. So I think
39?
maybe
Oh, maybe
49.
not.
Bash has 49.
Bash has
So that's
49.
10. That's 10 different. Melissa's
10
was
different.
like 14 different. So maybe Bash one.
Kelly 20. Collie got 23. Yeah, I see. The closest one to it is Bash with 10 off.
All right. Yep.
Dave said he was before, but I mean.
Yeah, it came on my screen after I already said it. So, I mean, that's what I have to go by. I can't accept numbers that come in after on my screen. Because then I'd have to accept it every time. I'm sorry. This isn't, I mean, we're doing another giveaway, so you guys can, don't worry. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely on my screen. It came through after I had already called out the number. So on the playback, it'll come through after it already calls it out as well. I have to go through by how it comes on my screen. So yeah, Bash, congratulations. Let's go ahead and draw you something. Something good, something good. Got a Trey Sermon rookie wave card. This one. Congratulations. All right, you can go ahead and go.
All right. Since we got the winner announced, so we're good to go. Okay. Like I said, I'm keeping 5 just to backtrack. We're gonna go ahead and keep fullback Kyle Juszczyk, not Hokett. I mean, it's the best fullback in football. What are we doing here? Um, um, so I'm going to keep that the running back room to me. In my opinion, there's only three guaranteed, and I can well maybe two, but I just have a feeling this one running back is hungry and he's probably a little pissed off. And I think you all know who I'm going to say. So right now, I have four running backs staying. I have Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis Price, Trey Sermon, and I'm gonna go Jeff Wilson. Um, I'm gonna say Elijah Mitchell starts off as the number one running back, just because he excelled last year. As me and Miriah had mentioned before, we saw him in person. He looks a little bit bigger. And he told me that he put on some more muscle to withstand the punishment in the NFL. So I think he gets it. I think he looked at least he said he put on like 10 pounds of muscle. So and the main thing is the main thing is the reason why he's going to stay is Kyle trusts him. He was a rookie running back last year and was zero fumbles. We all know how Kyle thinks about his fumbling. He hates when people fumble. So the fact that Elijah Mitchell didn't fumble not once last year, he earned Kyle's trust. So Elijah Mitchell to me is going to be our number one back. Ty Davis Price and Trey Sermon are obviously going to make this team, I feel. I'm a Michigan Wolverines fan. However, as much as I don't like Ohio State, Trey Sermon, coming from that program, showed you he can be a beast. I just feel like us drafting Ty Davis Price because I don't have Cox in it. Dave, we love you, brother.
Yes.
We're just trying to, like I said, it came so just not just Mariah's screen, it came in after the number came in on my screen as well. So, we got to keep it fair. But so Ty Davis Pro. Anyway, I look at Trey Sermon. I think the man's going to be hungry. Like I said, he was dominant at Ohio State. That talent is still there. I feel like he kind of got. He had some stuff kind of last year didn't go his way. He had got in trouble for the after curfew thing, and then like after what game did he get hurt when he got that concussion? Was it the Packers game?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. I remember he came in. Maybe a colleague can help me because I know he's a big Ohio State fan. I know he follows Trey Sermon a lot. But he came in. He had a nice carry, and then he got that concussion. So I feel like Trey Sermon, has it in him. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he beats out TDP. I think the man is hungry, just like I said, and I'd be pissed off if he's a competitor like I am. You draft, hey, man, look, Collie, I'm giving your Buckeye some props here. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving your Buckeye some props. Trey Sermon was an absolute beast for Ohio State. So if he's anything like me, he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He's like, wait a minute, you drafted me just a year ago in the third round. You traded up for me. Now you're drafting somebody in the same exact round as me to take my spot? I don't think so. So I think Trey Sermon's coming in hungry, and I know Jordan Mason has been looking good in camp and all this other stuff. But once again, I'm going with Jeff Wilson because of the trust factor. He didn't look good last year. He looked kind of sluggish. I don't know if he came back from injury too early. He didn't look good, but everybody's saying he's looking good in shape. He's looking in shape and stuff like that. So Jeff Wilson, he's still kind of young too. He's still in his 20s. He's still considered like a young running back. So I just feel like Jeff Wilson's going to come in here, and I feel like he's one of the bigger backs. He does have some speed. Jeff Wilson might be gone. I'm keeping him for the trust factor. I just think he's a better running back right now than Jordan Mason and JaMycal Hasty. I'm sorry. I just feel like he's better than them at the moment. JaMycal Hasty, to me, he can be replaceable. I just didn't think, they kept using him on third downs and stuff. It didn't look good. So I feel like JaMycal Hasty is probably going to end up getting cut, honestly. And I think they keep Jordan Mason over the practice squad over him, and I think honestly that Josh Hokett will probably make the practice squad again as well. I think he's really being groomed to take over for Juice. So that's who I have. I'll say it again: Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis Price, Trey Sermon, Jeff Wilson on the active roster, and then for a fullback, I got Kyle Juszczyk.
Okay. Collie says the Philly games when Sermon got a concussion. A lot of people are saying Jeff Wilson gone. We need Sermon healthy. So yeah, mine's a lot kind of different than yours. I'm actually going with 6, and I'm keeping one less wide receiver on the active roster for the fact that we go through running backs, it seems like, at a crazy speed. Hopefully that isn't the case this year, but I mean, that's been the track record the last few years. Like, we're always just having to pull running backs out of our ass at, by the second game of the season. And so I'm keeping an extra one. And for the fact, because somebody that you just said that they're grooming to take Juice's spot, um, I'm worried that Josh isn't going to make it on the practice squad. And I'm actually keeping him on the roster as well. So, therefore, I am keeping TDP, of course, because that's my number one running back this season. Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon. I'm either trading or cutting Jeff Wilson. I think, like you said, he looked sluggish last year. He's been injured. And then, towards the end of the season, like, they didn't use him whatsoever. And, once the other guys came back. So I just think, like, he's old, he's hurt, I can't keep continuing to say for every other position that we need to get younger and we need to get these guys that are continuously injured out of there and then keep guys like Jeff Wilson Jr. on the team. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm done with him. JaMychal Hasty, I say that, like, either cut him, trade him, or stick him on the practice squad and hopefully he makes it. And I'm also keeping Jordan Mason on the team. So because for the same reason, younger, healthier. I heard that, like, I feel like he's so far, in the little camp that they've had, he's doing everything that they wanted JaMychal Hasty to be. Like, catching the ball, the backfield, like, doing, like, he's taken over that Hasty role. So I just feel like a lot of people have him making the team over Trey Sermon. Like, that's how good, like, people are saying that he's looked. So I don't think that they're going to try to stash him and, risk him getting cut. So yeah, I'm keeping, again, Elijah Mitchell, TDP, Trey Sermon, Jordan Mason, Juice, and Josh Hokett. 6 on the active roster.
Perfect. Oh, that's good.
And because, like, from all accounts, like, even from Josh Hokett being on, with Breezy, and that whole interview, like, he talked about, like, how he knows there's only a limited, amount of spots for him because every team doesn't need a fullback. And, like, he's coming in this season to prove, like, he's, can make it on an active roster. So I just feel like, if we try to stash him, that he's just too physically gifted. And, like, if we didn't have the best fullback on the team with Juice, like, Josh would be on this team 100%. So,
I agree.
like, I just feel like it's too risky this season to try to stash him.
Yeah, those some good points. Yeah, I think no, I hear you on that, and I think the only thing that makes me feel comfortable keeping him on on the practice squad one more year is that you're able to protect 4 players a week. The fact that people can't just be like, oh, let me have that guy, let me have that guy, like
Yeah,
out of
but we
here.
keep saying that every week, and we're,
Yeah, I
like,
know.
running out of 4 players to be able to,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
we've said that every single week.
and two, just like you said, like our injury history for running back is huge. So I think
Yep.
that would help us too. Be like, okay, if I get to keep 4, he's always going to be one I keep because of the injury history,
Yeah.
and then going forward. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be tough. 6. I wouldn't be surprised as well. 6 running backs. To answer Dave's question, I think with Mostert, comparing Mostert to Wilson, I think is a little bit different because Mostert gets hurt a lot. Like Wilson, he was hurt, but then he came back. He was healthy. Well, I think at least we think healthy at the end of the year, and he's not going to be as expensive. Like, you're trying to keep most, you're going to have to pay him 2-3 million a year to keep him, which Jeff Wilson, you're probably paying him like league minimum to be on this team. And 2, you're looking at him as just a piece to come back. And like I said, I think what people forget, and people always, if you look at Kyle's history, he loves people who he trusts and people who know his system. That's what it comes down to Kyle. He wants people who can come in and don't skip a beat. So I think with Jeff Wilson, him being so cheap, him still only being 26 years old, he's still pretty young. It seems like he'd be old. I thought he was older than that, but he's not. He's only 26. So he's still pretty young. And like I said, I heard he was in better shape. But at the same time, you look at cost, he's a lot cheaper. And I think if you can bring him in for a 4th running back, I don't think that's an issue. Plus, he's big, and they've also used him as a fullback in some cases, if you remember. They also used him as some fullback to block and stuff. So, yeah, he has been hurt 2 years in a row, but not like to the point where it was like season-ending
I'd
injuries,
rather just keep
So,
a healthy fullback instead of a hurt running back that's trying to
yeah,
pretend to be a fullback.
I agree with that too. But I don't know. Like I said, I think you look at Kyle. There's always somebody at every level who he just trusts, and I just think like as much as we didn't agree with keeping like the Muhammad Sanu's and the stuff like that. But it's like, why is he on this team? Well, because he knows Kyle's system and he trusts him. So I don't know. I think and two, Jeff Wilson is kind of underrated and catching out of the backfield as well. Like he can catch the rock coming out of the backfield. So I think we can sit here all day and be like, oh, Jordan Mason deserves it over him, Josh Holkett, which I wouldn't have no argument for that. I'm just looking at it as an aspect of they always talk about versatility on this team, and they always talk about like their comfort level. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson been on the team for 3-4 years. They're comfortable with him. He can play fullback if needed. I mean, the man's like 230. You know what I mean? He's big. He can play fullback and halfback. He catches out of the backfield. He's not the healthiest guy, but as a fourth guy on your roster who's making league minimum, I think it's worth it. So that's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, Polly, that was a great interview. We're actually going to touch on that interview as well as the Tabor Pepper and Robbie Gould interview once we finish up with this. So yeah, that's the running back room. Wide receivers. We kept 6 on the team last season.
Yeah. Keeping 6 on the team this year as well. 12 wide receivers on the roster right now. So we're keeping half of them. I feel like we'll keep probably 2 on the practice squad and the rest will get cut. So top 5, obviously, in my opinion, and I think everybody else can agree, is pretty simple. We're going to go Debo, Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, and Danny Gray. Like those 5 are making the roster for sure. It's the 6th one who I kind of question because it's like who's going to step up. Are we gonna keep 2 rookies, 2 rookies on the active roster? On the 53 man. I don't think so. I think we'll only keep Gray. The guy I think who makes the 6th spot is Marcus Johnson, who was the guy we picked up from the Tennessee Titans. He was one of our first pickups, in free agency. He's a burner. He runs a 4.39. Yeah, he runs a 4.39. He's 6'1", 217 pounds. So, he's not the tallest receiver, but he does have some size, and he's a burner. Looking at his stats, every year he catches a ball over 50 yards. Like he's a legit deep threat when he does. I know it's a shame only 6 spots. I know we have so many good receivers. I agree, but I think because he's been in the league for a few years, he has playing experience. He went to the University of Texas, so I'm sure him and Kyle, have some kind of ties there. I know it's a 20-year age difference as far as when they went there, but how Kyle is when it comes to those guys. But yeah, I don't know. I just think. Or was it Turner? I don't know. I think Marcus Johnson was one I was thinking of, though. But I think you're right about Malik Turner. So yeah. Anyway, so that's the 6 I kept on this team. For the practice squad, I kept. I don't know how you say his name. I think it's Taysir Mack, the one that went to the University of Pitt. I kept him on there, and then I also kept Austin Mack on the practice squad. So those are the 2 I have that make the practice squad. Everybody else gets cut. And then my 6 are Marcus Johnson, Danny Gray, Ray McLeod, Juwan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, and then obviously I kept 5 to make room for an extra running back. But I mean, if they can keep 1 less at another position to keep 6, that would be great, But for this exercise, I had to only keep 5. So obviously we know what 5 I kept. If I were to keep 6, Malik Turner would be my 6th. And if we could stash him on the practice squad, I don't think it'll be possible. So, but I would if we could. And then I have Tay Martin going to the practice squad, and then I guess you could flip a coin on any of the rest. I mean, it is what it is for the rest of them. But yeah, I'm a huge Tay Martin fan. I just don't know if, you know,
Mhm.
he will be able to beat, these other guys out that have been on NFL rosters already,
Yeah.
if they, because that sixth spot, that's going to be a damn bloodbath fight for that spot
Yeah,
because there's so much talent and, you know, the, the,
there is.
the best part for all these wide receivers that are on the team right now is that they know obviously that there's only one spot that they're all fighting for. So they're pretty much just auditioning for whatever team can see them in the preseason and pick them up. Um, so best off to them. I hope they do make it to another team because it's not going to be this one, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think out of the, I mean, other than Danny Gray, obviously, like out of the undrafted rookies we picked up or undrafted free agents, whatever, I like Tasir Martin. I'm Tasir Mack, sorry, just because I saw, I watched him a little bit in college. He's a legit deep threat too. He has some size to him and stuff like that. And then Austin Mack, I kept him because he's been on our practice squad since last year. He stayed the full year on our practice squad as a receiver. And then so he's coming in there with a little bit of an edge, knowing more of the playbook. He played at, I hate to say this, he played at Ohio State, so he's, and there, you're not a slouch when you play at that kind of school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not going to be on Ohio State and be trash. So, I just like him. I just like those two on the team. But like you said, Mariah, it's so much depth and so much, you know, competition on this team. Like, whoever's fighting for that sixth spot is going to be in a dogfight.
Yeah. This preseason is going to be great because we know that with there only being 3 games now, that you're hardly going to see the starters. We hardly saw them when there was 4 games, but even more so when there's 3 games. So we're going to actually be able to see a lot of these guys that are fighting for these last couple spots on the team.
Yeah.
So it should be a hell of a freaking preseason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of roster spots that, I mean, not there's a little bit of roster spots that a lot of people are fighting for.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great,
It's like
great
Dave said,
preseason.
like Dave said, it's a shame, like only 6 spots, for that position when we're so deep there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think we can all be thankful that we don't have Travis Benjamin and Sanu and all them on the team this season.
Hmm.
We were
Yeah.
talking about that before the show started.
Yeah.
They're so
That,
glad we don't have them on the team
I,
this year.
I was so sick of seeing those dudes on this team.
Yep. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's going to be definitely interesting to see how this roster shapes up. But that's our shape up of the roster. Let's go ahead and do this giveaway for the Elijah Mitchell numbered rookie card. Go ahead and enter your numbers in the chat.
Put your
Give me,
number in now, Dave.
yep, all of you with your slow internets, with your slow Wi-Fi's.
Yeah, I agree with Dave. The most competitive camp in the past decade.
Yeah, and yet that's why it's funny when these professionals, whatever, or people in the media or whoever the hell puts out these lists and has the 49ers roster all the way down at the bottom. And it's like, that's such a crazy thing to me. It was crazy already. And then now, like, actually trying to sit down and decide, okay, who's going to actually make the team. Like, this team is so stacked and so deep. So
Yeah.
I don't understand how they can
Yeah.
rate us so low.
And Izzy, I can say, if you want to say put a position group, I would say offensive line as well. That position group's going to be intriguing, in my opinion, especially that right side.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. I mean, most positions on the team right now, there's a lot of people like fighting for 1 or 2 spots. So.
Yeah. You're like linebacker. Like you pretty much, I mean, unless
Yeah,
somebody's traded, we know Aziz and Greenlaw and Fred Warner are going to be on this team. So it's like you're really only fighting for maybe 2 spots.
yeah,
And that's tough,
it is.
Put your number in, Dave. See, look, everybody got their number in, and you sitting here lollygagging, bro. Come
He was
on.
a second person.
I know I'm messing with him.
You have Cox. It's not my internet.
I have Cox.
Yep, me too.
It's popular
Um,
here in Vegas.
yeah, that's the only choice that we have. Pretty much, all the rest are
Yeah.
horrible.
I forgot that
Yeah,
other one. That's trash.
yeah,
Yeah.
like not even close to standing up. So
No.
yeah, We either have Cox or we have Turtle Speed.
Yep.
So yeah, like Holly had brought up, Mike McGlinchey was on the SF Niners show today with Brad, and he did an interview with him. Great interview. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. And then Tabor Pepper was on Locked On 49ers with Crocker and Peacock. That was also, a lot of people, as soon as the show started, people were like, tell me you're not going to, talk with a long snapper this entire show or waste an entire episode on a long snapper. Like, already talking shit, like, as soon as the show starts. And it was actually a really great interview. Like, I'm so glad that they did that.
Yeah.
And then also Matt Mayoko interviewed Robbie Gould at, I think, a golf tournament, at some kind of tournament. And that was an okay interview as well. They're both kind of on the boring side for me. So, but yeah, a couple of things. We'll start with Mike McGlinchey. He had talked about, like, as far as, where he's, like, Brad had him pretty much like start, like, how he felt, like, when he got the injury and, like, walked him like through that whole thing. And he had actually said, like, he was dealing with, an injury in that place for like 2 years and playing with it. And it was just pretty much that game that it finally snapped. So he said it was like, like a blessing in disguise that now he finally got that repaired. And this is the first time he's going to have a healthy knee in how many ever years. So talked about that, how he expects, he's going to be there for training camp, obviously. And he don't know, he's going to put himself at a full go, but he don't know how the team's going to restrict his minutes and time and all that. He's expecting to be a full go come game time, but like he said, and like we talked about, I think last week or whatever, he's never come back. He's never had this injury before, this surgery before, this repair before, and had to come back from this type of thing before. So he doesn't know how it's going to react until he gets into a game. But he said he feels great. Like he feels like in great shape and all that. So, I mean, that was good to hear. He, seems like he kept his mentals right. We know that was a thing, in previous seasons that he had a little bit of issue with. So it seems like he's got that all under control. He talked about how him and Kinlaw have grown and like have a great relationship, obviously, because they're both coming back from injury. They've gotten to rehab together. And he kind of talked about, and Tabor touched on this as well, how Kinlaw, he looks great. He's in great shape. He's from a mental standpoint doing so much better. He's wanting to be the team guy and be there with the team and stayed there to train, all through the off season. Like he didn't leave, like he stayed there in Santa Clara. And, so like he's putting forth that, team effort, like to be a team guy as well as getting himself back physically to the team as well. So yeah, hopefully, both of them, like we talked about before, are going to be huge parts for them to be healthy. He obviously talked about Trey Lance, and to me, like glowingly talked about Trey Lance. like he was like, he's so excited for Trey. All three of them talked about Trey and the first thing they talked about is how mature he is. Mike touched on how he wanted to give him so much credit for the way that he handled the situation last year. And we always touch on how everybody, Jimmy did so great with the situation. Jimmy handled the situation, but they never want to give Trey the credit for handling that same situation, right? And Mike finally gave him the credit, for Captain to come in as a rookie. He's supposed to be the guy, and yet you have a guy there, and how he dealt with and just used that to just get himself better. And yeah, that he's mature, and he said that he's such an impressive dude off the field, and he knows that with all the talent and everything that he's pretty much an impressive guy on the field as well. Just has to put it together. So yeah, I mean, from all accounts, he seems ready, mentally, physically, hopefully. But yeah, there's a great interview. Definitely check it out. And then Robbie, what I found about he had talked about how the guys, of course, love Jimmy on the team, but that he knows that they all know the front office, it's their job to make that team better, and by their way of making that team better was obviously had to better the quarterback position. So, he made it seem like that's a known factor out there that the team knows, obviously why they're replacing Jimmy. Um, and then something, that I love that him and Tabor both touched on was the addition of the special teams players and of the special teams coach, Brian Schneider. Um, they both talked like great things about the coach. Tabor talked about how like he's learned things from him already that he had never learned before.
Hmm.
That Brian has him doing the kickoff return drills to learn like blocking and stuff, even though he's never going to be doing the kickoff returns,
Yeah. Hmm.
just so that he can learn those different things. He talked about how, uh, what player was it? Burks, Warren Burks, yeah,
Orange
that
Berkshire.
that when they watch the like film of him for special teams, that it's like clinic film. He's perfect. Every move that he makes is perfect. Every move that he's supposed to make, he makes. And that you tell him something one time and he does it perfectly from then on. Like he said, he's so excited about these guys that we got
Hmm.
for special teams. And, that how he already has a close bond with what's the other guy that Odom, that he already
George
has a
Odom,
close
the
bond with
safety.
George
Yeah.
Odom because I guess Odom breeds dogs and so does Tabor.
Hmm.
And yeah, and like he touched on how Robbie's like such a special teams guy, like not just, like for his position, but all around special teams. And like I guess Robbie's dad or something is a special or brother or somebody's special teams coach. Um, and that he noticed, and then Robbie touched on it too, that they like can see how smart and how well prepared and everything Brian is because Robbie is also so smart and well prepared and everything,
Yeah.
So like for Robbie to talk so well about him, like made me feel confident because Robbie knows obviously what he's talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so like that we had touched so much about how special teams need an improvement. And my number one
Yes.
thing was to get rid of your freaking friends that are coaches that are freaking sucking and you're just keeping them around. So I'm so happy to hear that this new guy, Brian Schneider from Seattle, is coming in and actually the players are responding, even though they had been here with this other coach for so many years. Like
Absolutely.
I was
Yeah.
worried, like, how are the players going to feel about it? Were they like, did they know the coach sucked? Like obviously they did. So that's good to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, no, you make some good points. And even on the state of the franchise, we heard Schneider talk so highly of George Odom and Oren Burks. Like he was like, as soon as I became the coach, I saw exactly what the weaknesses of this team, and then I knew who I wanted to get. Just to say that he looked at Oren Burks, he looked at George Odom, and he's like, "Yeah, I gotta have these guys." And sure enough, like those were one of our first signings. They were like, "I gotta have them." So we were just
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it's like good." Like and two, it's one of those things where even though George Odom and Oren Burks are considered special teams guys, they have the experience and the ability to actually start if there's an injury. So that's what's good
Yeah.
about them as well. So yeah, I'm excited for special teams. We haven't had good special teams since the Tony Montana squad when we're with Harbaugh and when we're just dominant with like the CJ Spillers and all them that are on the
Yeah.
team. So I'm excited. Like and two, we haven't had a great kickoff returner since Ted Ginn Jr. in my opinion. So Ray McLeod, him bringing that speed and that ability and
Yeah.
stuff like
That's
that,
huge.
I'm so excited. So now we can just worry about Brandon Ayuk focusing on being a wide receiver. Like I don't want him back there returning punts, doing kickoff returns. Ray McLeod was brought in for that reason. I feel like the first couple days of free agency, that's all we focus on with special teams.
Yep.
We're like, let's get us a good returner, and I hope that Ray McLeod is everything we thought that Dante Pettis was going to be.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? No, seriously, because like when Dante Pettis was drafted, obviously, I'm sure everybody else does the same thing. We go back and we look at their highlights and we look at film to see how good they were. And when we drafted Pettis, I was so excited of his kickoff return ability. I mean, he set the record in college for touchdowns and punt returns. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. And the dude was soft as cotton. So, like I said, we haven't had a great returner since Ted Ginn. Ray McLeod, I feel like he has that ability. Probably not as dynamic, because Ted Ginn was a beast when he got in that open field. But I think with McLeod, he's going to solve all their problems. So now I just hope that we look at everything and we're just like, look, and I feel like we took care of all the levels. You know what I mean? We took,
Yeah.
we got some depth for the secondary and got a great special teamer, got some depth at linebacker, great special teamer, got some depth at wide receiver, plus a special teamer. So I feel like, like we always say, they always love their versatility. And I think Ray McLeod, I think, I think I said this before. I think he beats out Danny Great just because, of just, him already being a pro and knows what he's doing. And when Kyle talked about him, he lit up.
Yeah.
Remember on State of the Franchise, like he was just like, oh my God, like I wanted this guy. Like I feel like he finally feels he got his Taylor Gabriel type of player. So yeah, like Dave said, this is the most competitive roster we've had in a long time. So,
Yeah.
I haven't felt this excited, and it sucks because we have such a stacked roster. People are going to be coming for us. They're going to be looking at edge rusher. They're going to be looking at our secondary and looking at our wide receiver room and possibly even our running back room.
That's
So
why I'm worried. Like to
yeah,
go stash these players on the practice squad,
yeah,
it ain't gonna happen.
yeah. So it's going to be tough. So yeah, I'm so excited. We got training camp in 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it the 26th,
1
a
week.
week from today,
Yep.
right? Yeah. So yeah, we have to. So I can't wait. So yeah, I'm so excited, like, and I'm glad that Robbie Gold came out and kind of said like Trey Lance already looks like a leader.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that was one comment he said that stood out to me. So I'm glad that people are they're starting to put people on notice a little bit, and I'm glad players are saying a little bit more and saying how they're not worried. And even that interview with Fred Warner with Rich Eisen, they
Yeah.
start talking about that stuff, and he had some good things to say about Trey Lance. So I can't wait. So yeah, I think we talk about this, and I know people are kind of worried because they're thinking about what we can do, and I know people are kind of scared about Trey Lance, what he can do and stuff like that. But look, he can't be no worse than what we got from Jimmy last year. I see better than 20 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. I see the interceptions might be equal, but I see at least 10 more touchdowns. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's passes, and I feel like another 6 on the ground. So, yeah, everything else is just going to open up. No more hospital balls, no more, throwing over the middle every other play because we got a quarterback who attacks every area of the field. We have some speedsters at wide receiver. Our running back room is stacked. If our old line is as good as we think it can be, and George Kittle is used as a receiving threat, sky's the limit for this team. So
Yeah.
I'm just excited.
Yep. Hey, Bryant. If you're still here, enter your number. We're about to do a giveaway. But yeah, I haven't been, like I keep saying, I haven't been this excited for a season in a long time. Like maybe ever. Just because I haven't been excited for a quarterback
In a
in
long
as
time.
long as I can remember. And then to have this stacked of a team around him,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we were excited for Jimmy when he came and he won those 5 games, but like we didn't have a great team around him, It's like,
Yeah.
what do we think he was going to come out and do?
He was throwing the receivers like Marquise Goodwin and Jeremy Curley.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
So yeah.
Hey, Tony, you guys enter your numbers. We're about to do a giveaway, but you have to scroll up a little bit because I'm not sure what the other numbers that have already been entered were. I'll give you a couple of 30 seconds.
Denise, I agree. And I honestly think that he's being immature. Like, I mean, I don't know what happens behind closed doors. We all think that Trey's a great guy, which I still think he comes from a great family, stuff like that. But Colin Cowherd flip as soon as Trey Lance and his daughter weren't together anymore. Because he used to talk high on Trey Lance and kind of used to throw side digs to Jimmy. You know what I mean? And now he's done a whole 360 where now he's like, Jimmy is did you see that thing I sent you? Where he was like, Jimmy is underrated. All he does is win and all this other stuff. And then so now he's kind of dogging out Trey Lance. But
that sounded just like Jimmy's camp had put out everything that he said. Like that didn't sound like no truth to me. It sounded like a bunch of bullshit. All those guys, I mean, all they do is flip flop on fucking everything. Like that's how they get paid for putting out bullshit takes because all of us react to it.
Yep. That's why we're talking about it now.
Yep. We just keep paying their bills. But it is what it is. Let's draw a number. Let me find my thing here. All right. 43.
Let me scroll up here. 43. We gotta scroll up a bit. Let me
48.
see. 48 I see so far. 35. No, I think 40. You said the number was 43?
Yep.
Okay, 43. Yeah, the closest is Dina at 48.
All right. Congratulations. You have won this Elijah Mitchell rookie card, numbered 146 out of 199. If you have Twitter and can DM me on Twitter your address, if not, you can email me at Miriah35 at gmail.com. MIRIAH35 at gmail.com. Or Twitter is better if you have that. But congrats. We appreciate you guys all being here. Yeah, I'm telling you, because Trey hit it and quit it, and now that
Yep.
guy's all freaking in his feelings.
Smash and dashed. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is
Boy
what it
smash.
is.
Yep. Boy smash and dashed, and hey, it is what it is. And he dating somebody else's daughter now, like somebody who's like has some name recognition. I could have swore it was somebody else too, but
Yeah, I had
I don't
seen he
know.
was dating some girl shortly after,
Yes.
and then,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
mean, it don't seem like he's too serious, like in a relationship with
I mean,
anybody. But
the man is 22 years old. Like
exactly,
he's gonna do what he does. You know what I mean? Like I know when I was 22, I was an absolute beast. So I can imagine what he's going through.
yeah,
So yeah, it's crazy. Oh yeah. Um,
but
I
yeah,
appreciate everybody. Is there any more questions for us? So you know, I got time today. John Brody's granddaughter. That's who it is.
oh, yeah,
John Bro. Yeah. So
oh
yeah, that's
wow,
who it was. Yep. Laying that pipe. Yep. Blowing backs out and clapping cheeks on a daily basis. So
as long as he can play football during the season, that's all I
as
care
long as
about.
those
And
females
you ain't,
don't, yeah, as long as those females don't get him blindsided and distracted, I'm fine. Like
yep,
just keep doing, just do what you do.
yep. He
Yeah,
seems like a guy that's focused on the game, so
yeah, for sure.
hopefully,
And I want to give shouts out to Brandon Ayuk. Every camp and everywhere. I don't know if he went to tight end U or whatever the case may be. But I remember everywhere I saw Trey going, where there was training in California and all these other places, he was always right by his side. And I remember after the draft, they threw something here in Vegas, and he went right there at what's that stadium over here in Henderson? I can't remember, Sam Boyd Stadium or whatever it's
uh-huh.
called. Yeah, so they played, they had a little camp there. So yeah, I'm just proud of those two. Like I'm glad that he has somebody he can lean on, and isn't scared to take time off and say, because right now you can be doing other things if you wanted to.
Yeah,
No, I'm not doing it. I'm doing that. But I feel like every time Trey is there and he wants to do something, he's like, yeah, let's go do it. So and that just goes to show you that they're both hungry. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And they want to be good. They want to be
He could be
great.
in
So
Florida saying you can come train with me in Florida, but no,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
going wherever Trey's going. And
exactly.
Trey didn't end up going to tight end U, so he, yeah, you neither of them were there.
Looks like Izzy has a question. If you could choose who Hafunga lines up with in future after Ward is gone, who would be your pick on current roster? That's tough. Let me see. Maybe Castro Fields if he gets better, because I feel like he's more of a safety to me from what I saw. I feel like him being 6 foot 205, running in the 4.3s, and I know that don't mean nothing because we have Tarvarius Moore that has the same kind of attributes, but looking at Tariq Castro Fields, I feel like he's one of those guys who could be on the team, kind of like a Dante Johnson type player who can play both corner and safety, because that's what he played at Penn State. So if I had to take a guess, that's who it could be. But I wouldn't be surprised if they end up picking up a free agent or probably even drafting somebody to take over our free high. So
Yeah,
that's why. That's if I had to guess. So because I feel like Ward, to me, he needs to retire a Niner. We have talked about this before. I feel like he needs to sign at least like a 3-year extension, and then if and then maybe when he's like 34, then he can just hang it up and say, he played his entire career with the Niners. I feel like he's that guy, and I'm not comparing him to a Bryant Young. I'm just saying he's one of those guys who are one of those guys who are like, he's loyal. He's been loyal, had a chance to go somewhere else, but decided to stay. He even admitted that the Raiders offered him way more money,
Yep.
but he was like, no, I want to stay and I want to win with the Niners. So that speaks volumes to me. I just hope, the Niners do right by him, because it's funny because his first 4 or 5 years with the team, he was always hurt, and people were always questioning his ability. He's never healthy. He's never healthy. We were always questioning the front office for always bringing him back and resigning him. But
Yep.
he's turned the corner. I don't know what he does different, but his body's been healthy. Knock on wood. And he is. He's one of those guys who I feel like should be a mainstay. And what, the last like 4 years, he's been healthy, right, Miriah? Like, he hasn't been injured or nothing. So I just
Yeah.
hope he stays like that. So hey, Collie, I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, it's funny how we met. We met over on Nitty Gritty or whatever. No, I think Nitty Gritty when they kind of first started, and I'll never forget. It's a funny story. Breezy called me on for a mock draft. I mocked a linebacker in the 5th round, and Miriah started dog walking me. A linebacker? What are you thinking? And blah blah blah. And so I was just like, yeah, I think we need some depth. But so anyway, we start talking and stuff like that. And then like I think I started explaining myself. I can't remember which player I had. It was, I think I was being biased. I think it was somebody from the Wolverines, but I always felt like, oh, we needed some depth, and I was just like, yeah, just for depth in case somebody gets hurt, blah blah blah. And then so I explained myself, and she goes, oh, okay. I never forget. She said, oh, okay, it makes sense. And then I mentioned something about being in Vegas, and she said, hey, I'm in Vegas too. So we just started like being on every show. Like, we start talking, and this and that. And I think during the draft last year, oh, no, not I think. I know during the draft last year, we got on Nitty Gritty because they had a draft show for all 3 days, and me and Mariah were on I think on the show every day,
Yeah.
like helping Peachy out and stuff like that. So we just started talking, and then she said that we started talking about how knowledgeable we both were. She liked how I talked. I liked how she talked, and I didn't even know she was starting a podcast. And then she finally said, I'm starting a podcast. And then she had a couple of I don't know, I think you did like 1 or 2 shows, and then I came on as a guest. She invited me on
Hmm.
for a guest, and then when she invited me on, and then we just kind of talked after the show, and that's when I decided to come on here full time. So we've been doing it ever since. I want to say since the Packers game of last year. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's how it did. And yeah, I did troll you, Izzy, and said that I don't think Creed Humphrey should be a better pick over Asante Samuel, and it's looking pretty even. I know Asante Samuel kind of they said they struggled. I don't pay attention to the Chargers, but they said he kind of struggled last year as a corner, but he was really. I think as of now it's pretty equal, but I think Creed Humphrey might end up being better because he looks pretty solid. So I give you your props, Izzy. I do every time. So yeah, I give you props. You wanted Creed Humphrey, and you were correct about the pick. He looks good. He looks good. So
She said, "Who do you trust to be available week one versus the season? Slim Mike or Jason Verrett?"
wow.
I'm gonna go with
I'm
Mike.
I'm 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 gonna go with Jason Verrett just because I feel like
He
he's got
would.
to heal longer. Watch it because he got to heal longer. They both had some ugly injuries, but you can argue Mike McGlinchey's was worse. Like, his was almost career ending. Um, I just feel like it's for Jason Verrett, just because he has lower. What's the word I want to use? Like, the toll on his body is not going to be as much. Like, this man, almost ripped his knee off the bone type thing, and now he's going to have to go up against people his size each and every play. I mean, they're and who knows if his leverage is the same, because how long has he been squatting, stuff like that. And the fact that he got hurt, what, like week 8, 9, something like that, and Jason Verrett got hurt week 1. I just feel like only because I say Jason Verrett only because of the length that he's had more to rehabilitate or whatever the case may be. So that's the only reason why. So
And I'm saying Big Mike just because we've had more healthy seasons out of him than we've had out of Jason or anybody's had out of Jason. So I just feel like, but this is
Yeah.
the only season that Mike's been injured. And,
Hmm.
he even talked about that. And Brad had asked him too about, like there was a rumor going around that, you only had a whatever percent chance of returning from this injury. And, like that made it seem like it was worse than what
It
Mike's now
was.
making it seem like. And Mike's saying, yeah, I never heard that from the doctor. Like
Mm,
he's always been under the assumption, under that he's fine to return, that
yeah.
his returning was never in doubt, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of funny. I feel like after we lost, and it's funny I'm going to be saying this, but after we lost all these offensive linemen, including Tom Compton, because we can say whatever we want, he played solid the second half of the year. Like he was solid. So, the fact that, a lot of us are always dogging Mike McGlinchey and get him off the field and he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. His pass protection is terrible, blah, blah, blah. I feel like after that, now we kind of appreciate him a little bit more. You know
Well,
what I
I
mean? So
mean, he's
now we're
always
like
been solid run protector. It's always just
yeah.
been his pass protection, and
Yeah.
I'm still
Pass
worried about that. That
Yeah,
hasn't changed.
especially after this injury. Like
Yeah,
how sturdy is it to where you're going to be able to hold your blocks? You know what I'm saying? So, I just that's the only reason why I'm more worried about him. I'm just glad we have a lot of depth for both corner and offensive tackle now. So now
yeah,
even if they have to say, hey, Mike, we're going to put you on the short-term IR or whatever it's called, for 3 weeks until you're healthy. If he has to miss 2 or 3 weeks of the season, I'm okay with that. I just hope he doesn't get rushed back. And there's times too where you think like, I know everybody knows their body better than everybody else, but if you're having any kind of doubts of like, oh, I don't know about this, I don't know about that, I know as a competitor, you're just like, I want to get on the field. You know what I mean? Like I
yeah,
feel great. I feel like all athletes all say that.
yeah.
Oh, I feel great. I'm ready to. If we could start now, I would type thing. You know what
I'm
I mean?
feeling the
But
best I've ever felt.
yeah, I found the best I've ever felt. If week one started Monday, I'd play, and
Yep,
so. But I think that's just what all athletes say. But it's like be smart about it. Just be like, if you're not ready, it's okay. Like, just be like, hey, I don't feel I'm ready. Can you put me on short term IR? I can maybe start week 3, week 4, wherever the case may be. And I think everybody would be okay with that because at least you're being honest and you're not putting yourself in a position where you're going to re-injure yourself. Because at
yeah,
the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you and your family. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So that's what it comes down to. So yeah.
yeah. And I appreciate all the love, you guys. Again, Ryan's saying it's such a great show. You guys feed off each other well. Tony's saying it's refreshing to have podcasts like this show and a few others. You can pick and choose who to follow based on your liking of the content. This is a great show. And that's the best part of it. Like the 49er fans are so lucky because there's so many 49ers content creators. Like the other teams, they don't have so many content creators to choose from. Like you have 5, big ones, and then that's it. So if you don't like any of those, you're pretty much screwed. Like the faithful are lucky because you have so many of us to choose from, and there's so many great content creators for
Mhm.
the 49ers. So, like, and that's the thing, like I'm big, like I try to give everybody, even before I started my own show, like I tried to be in everybody's chat, tried to give everybody a chance, but not everybody's for you, and that's the only thing I ask. Like I try to show love to everybody, go
Yeah.
listen for an episode, like if you don't like somebody after an episode or two or whatever, then maybe they're just not your cup of tea,
Yeah.
hit the subscribe button anyway and carry on, because at the end of the day you're just, you're helping those people, try to feed their family. So
Absolutely. And I give props to everybody, whether you're a small channel or a big channel, like there's no competition in me and Mariah's eyes. We just come on here. We love talking about our Niners. But what I will say, to toot our horn a little bit, and I'm not saying this is no knock on anybody else. Me and Mariah are not scared to talk about anybody and everybody. Nobody on this team is above criticism. We're gonna say it how we see it. So that's how I say it. Like I feel like there's some people who kind of tap dance around subject because they don't want to lose followers and stuff like that. Me and Mariah, honestly, we love you guys, but me and Mariah are always going to keep it a buck on here. We're never going to sugarcoat anything. So if it's negative, we're going to talk about it. If it's positive, we're going to talk about it, and that's just how we do things on this show. So
yeah, and we've talked about this offline, and I'll share with you guys because that's just who I am. But I feel like since the Kinlaw situation, a lot of people, a lot of shows, and to each their own. Everybody can do their thing how they do it, you know. That's not how I roll, and that's never how I'll roll. But I feel like a lot of people have calmed, like talking about players, and like they're scared to ruffle any feathers because they're trying to work for the team, or they're trying to, you know, have a press pass to, you know, go in and question these players, and they want to have these players come on their shows, so they don't want to sit there and say anything bad that's going to make players not want to associate with them, not want to come on their show for an interview, not want to answer questions when they're there watching training camp or whatever the case may be. And like I said, if that's how they want to run their situation, that's totally fine. But that's not how we do things here. That's never how we'll do things here.
Nope.
If you don't like what you hear, don't listen. If you don't like what you hear, play better. You know, I got a job to do. You got a job to do at the end of the day. So do it.
Amen to that. Well said. So yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, you know, we love our Niners, and you know, we're gonna talk about everything and anything, you know, like, you know, and I just, we find it comical because like we've been talking about this stuff like that, and you know, and some people get, you know, get their feathers ruffled a bit when you start talking about certain players on the team. And I don't care if you're Robbie Gold, I don't care if you're Eric Armstead, I don't care if you're Josh Norman. If you're not playing well, we're gonna call it out. And I know we're, you know, we're a small channel, so we don't get as much, you know, people who watch, but at the same time, you guys are gonna understand me and Miriah are always gonna keep it real. And then so yeah, that's just the way it is. So
Yeah, media, definitely reach out, or I'll reach out. We'll plan something. We'll get something planned. Definitely do something. That's the first time I actually had seen TL as well as doing a mock draft on Rombo's show. But yeah, I think most of you guys, I'll met you guys in the chats of somebody's show.
I appreciate all the love, guys.
Yep,
That's all.
we appreciate you guys. And yeah, I saw that, you know, about the Saturday shows. You guys like the Saturday shows. We'll try to get more Saturday shows going.
Yeah.
We did also decide that we are going to do the like instant game recaps after every game as well. Like just a short show, like 20-minute show, just to, you know, bring you guys our uncut, filtered opinion of what we just witnessed, good or bad. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
appreciate you
mean,
guys on Niner Sickness. Yeah, I thought that that's where I had seen you from, was in Niner Sickness. Beto, he's a
awesome.
great guy. I appreciate him.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not your call, and I'm glad you came to Vegas and had a great time, but just let your parents know if that was their first time. The best time to come here is like October, November.
Yeah,
It's cool.
definitely
It's
hot.
cool. It's cool here. It's football season. It's basketball season. If you're, you know, and I feel like you're a sports junkie. So yeah, to me, October, November is the best time to come to Vegas.
Yeah, the summer is definitely the worst.
That's the worst. Yeah. I mean, pool parties are amazing, but you don't know nothing about that. I mean, you know, you're young, but them pool parties here are off the chain. But as far as just coming for a vacation to relax, not too much heat, come in October, November if you can, if you want to let
Yeah,
your parents know. So
yeah. In like 10 years or so, then you can come enjoy the pool parties.
yes, sir.
Then you'll want to come during the summer. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you guys sometime this next week. We'll figure it out. We'll let you guys know. So stay tuned. Keep an eye.
All right, fam. You guys take care.
All right, you guys, stay safe. I want to see everybody here back in one piece next week.
Absolutely.
Much love, fam.